And in this episode, we're cutting some stuff. And welcome back to More Approved. I'm James, and today I'm going to be showing you some practical knife cutting skills and applications that you can use at home. So the first thing on our chopping block, so to speak, is garlic. Now there's nothing better than fresh garlic in a dish. To get that skin off and make your job of mincing it easier, just take a clove of garlic, give it a nice firm tap on there, and then cut off the base. And if you give it a little trim on the top, you can actually get that skin to pull right off, which makes it really quick and easy. Finish cutting it right down the center. It should have split in half depending on the size. And then take your fingers like thus, and you're gonna wanna put your blade up and down. You're gonna use your fingers as a guide for what you're doing. So just go ahead. And mince it up. And as you can see, that's a pretty nice mince on the garlic. And for my purposes, that's good enough for me. Now, the next thing on the list is onions. I've seen people cut onions a whole bunch of different ways. The way that works for me is just take your onion, split it right in half. So this is where your sprout comes out of the onion and then makes a nice stalk or whatever that comes out of the ground. I don't know what it's called. And then this is the root side of it. So if you're going to mince onion, you want to take and just barely cut off that root section. Then just trim off the other side, throw that in your trash can, and peel off that first layer. Sometimes you have to do 2 layers, but usually 1 layer is good enough. You just have to see if it's fibrous or not underneath it. This one looks pretty good. So there's a lot of different ways that I've seen people cut onions. With most ways, they say, oh, take and run your knife back this way. You don't really need to do that because if you see the way that this onion is built, it has a whole bunch of natural layers through it, and I don't find that to be necessary for most of my applications. Then you just want to take your knife, bring it in, and get as close to that root as possible without going all the way through. Now turn your onion and then just do a rocking motion and go all the way through. Now you want to use your hand, be very careful, you want to use your hand to hold in these edge pieces, but as you can see, I did not go through the center of that onion, and it's all diced up pretty nicely. So just go ahead. Now when you get to this base end piece, because we haven't cut all the way through it, just come through from top to bottom, slice across, and then slice across the opposite direction, and you're finished with that. Now if you want to julienne an onion, go through, cut the top off, and cut more of the root section off because you don't want that onion to hold together. Peel off your skin, and then you're just basically going to hold the onion like thus, and then make progressive cuts all the way through. So go ahead, start. But when you get slightly past the halfway mark, go ahead and set your onion down and start again from that end. But that is an easy, quick way to do a julienne onion or just a thin slice onion. Next on the list is a potato. And most people, when they cut potatoes, they have them just like this, or they hold them in their hand with a paring knife. I prefer to use a cutting board, and you'll see most people just do this, which is fine. So if you feel comfortable doing that, you can go ahead and chop all the way through. Now I find for control, if you're just starting out, you always want a flat section to work on. So go ahead and cut your potato in half. And this will give you the ability to have way more control over it. It's not going to be wobbling all over the place, so it reduces the risk of you getting cut. So again, take your hands, arrange them on top, and then just start pushing your knife through the potato. And for a basic chef's knife, a traditional chef's knife, a French chef's knife, you're gonna wanna take and rock your blade through. So you're gonna wanna go from tip to base, tip to base, tip to base. And if you're completely vertical and horizontal as you're cutting things, so imagine that in 3D space, you will have perfectly even cuts all the way across and all the way through. So go ahead and move that out of the way. So I'm just gonna cut this potato up really quick, and then I'm gonna show you how to make your own French fries out of this other potato. Now, if you ever wanna make your own French fries at home, or like corned beef hash or something along those lines, you're gonna wanna take and start by giving yourself a flat edge of your potato. So as you look at this potato, it's a little bit oblong this way. So I'm gonna make a flat end on this side. You can take, if you want to, or unless you want to have a stealth cut fry, just cut off the top, then cut off the bottom. and you want to make sure it's perpendicular to either side, as close as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect. Then take your potato, and you're going to want to take and cut off one end, and then just go through. Until you get to the other side. You can do a couple of layers at a time, but be careful. There's a lot of starch and moisture in potatoes, so they do get slippery. So just be aware of that. As you're cutting, they may move around a little bit on you, which is also going to affect your outcome. So I usually use my thumb to support the back side of the potato, and then I use my other fingers to sort of hold everything in place. And you can do as many layers as you want at a particular time, as many as you feel comfortable with. If you're not feeling comfortable with it, don't do it, or just do one layer. Looks pretty decent. Now, let's see, it's been a long time since I was in culinary school. Let's see how these turned out. And the last thing on our list are gonna be some mushrooms. Now, mushrooms are fairly easy. You just wanna sort of lay them down flat. If you feel more comfortable, you can give yourself a flat edge to work with, which that's still sliced, so no big deal. And then just take and rock your knife right through. Do the same thing, repeat. And be aware that as you're chopping that away, you're gonna lose the base that you're working on. So this is going to move underneath your hands as you're cutting. But I always encourage using flat spaces as you're cutting things, because if it goes to move and you're doing something, you're gonna hurt yourself. And that wraps up this episode of More Approved. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down. If you have any questions, leave comments down below. Whenever you can, always cut from a flat surface. So take one edge, slice it, and then work from that flat surface, and you will be safer overall. So thanks for watching More Approved. I'm James. Till next time, see you then.